Have you ever witnessed a moment of pure, unexpected kindness so powerful it changes everyone it touches? This is one of those stories. Stay until the end, because the single dad's reaction isn't what you think, and it reveals a truth about humanity we all need to remember. If you believe in the power of compassion, you're going to want to see this. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to True Kindness Tales for more stories that restore your faith in people. The rain in the city wasn't romantic. It was a cold, needling drizzle that found every gap in a threadbare coat. Eleanor felt it seep into her bones as she huddled under the awning of a closed boutique, her shopping cart of worldly possessions, a tapestry of faded blankets, water-warped paperbacks, and a single, cherished photograph of a son she hadn't seen in years, parked loyally beside her. Across the street, the warm, golden glow of a family diner spilled onto the wet pavement. Inside, she could see the blurry shapes of people laughing, steaming mugs in hand, ensconced in a dry, communal comfort that felt as distant to her as a memory. Her eyes, however, weren't fixed on the food, but on a man sitting alone in a booth by the window. He was maybe in his mid-30s, with the tired shoulders of someone carrying the world. In the high chair next to him, a little girl, no more than 3, was meticulously decorating her father's arm with sticky, jelly-smeared fingerprints. He wasn't on his phone. He was entirely focused on her, wiping her face with a napkin, listening to her bubbling, nonsensical story with a smile that didn't quite reach the exhaustion in his eyes. Eleanor saw it all. The single dad, the struggle, the profound love. It was a portrait of a different kind of loneliness, one surrounded by responsibility but perhaps just as isolating. A violent shiver racked her frame. The cold was one thing, but the aching, physical need for human connection was worse. It had been months since anyone had looked her in the eye, let alone touched her hand. She was a ghost in the living world, people sidestepping her cart, their gaze sliding over her as if she were part of the urban decay. The sight of that father's gentle patience with his daughter created a fissure in the wall of her despair. A reckless, desperate need blossomed in her chest. Before her courage could fail, Eleanor pushed her cart through the rain, the wheels rattling like her chattering teeth. She entered the diner, the bell jingling a cheerful alarm. A wave of warm, greasy air and the clatter of cutlery hit her. Conversations dipped as heads turned, taking in her soaked, layered clothing, her cart. Discomfort, pity, and irritation flickered across faces. She ignored them, her gaze locked on the booth by the window. The little girl stared, wide-eyed. The man looked up, and for a terrifying second, Eleanor saw the familiar defensive wall start to rise in his eyes, the preemptive guardedness of a parent. Her voice, when it came, was a raspy whisper, barely audible over the classic rock on the radio. "Excuse me, sir." He straightened, a protective arm instinctively moving closer to his daughter. Eleanor took a shaky breath, the words tumbling out, raw and unvarnished. "I'm so sorry to bother you and your beautiful girl. I'm so cold. And I'm so alone." Tears, hot and shameful, mixed with the rain on her cheeks. "I know it's a lot to ask from a stranger, but can you give me a hug, please?" Silence crashed over their corner of the diner. The waitress froze, coffee pot in hand. A teenager at the counter stopped texting. The little girl, sensing the tension, buried her face in her father's sleeve. Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. She had laid her broken humanity at his feet, and now awaited the verdict. Rejection, a polite dismissal, or perhaps a dollar bill to go away. The pause that followed Eleanor's plea stretched into an eternity. Leo, the single dad, felt 1,000 impulses collide. His first was primal, fatherly protection, get between your child and potential danger. The woman before him was unpredictable, her eyes holding a storm of pain. His second was societal pressure, a nudge from the suspicious glances of other patrons, an internal voice reminding him not to engage, to politely say no and redirect his attention to his daughter, Chloe. But then he looked past the worn coat and the desperate request. He saw the tremble in her chapped hands, the profound humiliation in her downcast eyes before she'd spoken. He saw, in her raw vulnerability, a mirror of his own hidden struggles, the exhausting loneliness of parenting without a partner, the fear that he was failing, the ache for an adult connection that wasn't about scheduling or bills. His wife's passing 2 years ago had left him in a similar emotional tundra, just better camouflaged by a job and a mortgage. Chloe peeked out from his sleeve. "Daddy, Lady Sad." Those 3 words shattered his hesitation. What was he teaching his daughter in this moment? To fear those who are suffering. To prioritize comfort over compassion. It's okay, sweetheart, he murmured, smoothing her hair. Then, he slid out of the booth. He didn't just stand up, he stepped around the table, closing the physical and social distance between him and Eleanor. He didn't offer a quick, patronizing side hug. He opened his arms, fully and without reservation. Come here, he said, his voice low and steady, a calm harbor in her storm. For a second, Eleanor didn't move, stunned by the openness of the gesture. Then, she stumbled forward into his embrace. The moment his arms closed around her, she shattered. A sob, deep and wrenching, tore from her chest. She didn't just cry, she wept, her body convulsing with the release of years of held-back sorrow, fear, and dehumanizing isolation. She clung to the back of his flannel shirt like a lifeline, her face buried in his shoulder. Leo held her firmly. He didn't pat her back awkwardly or try to shush her. He just held her, a solid anchor in the tumult of her grief, his own eyes squeezed shut against a sudden, surprising burn of tears. He whispered, "It's okay. You're okay. Just let it out." The diner was utterly silent. The earlier judgment had melted into awe, and more than a few customers brushed away tears of their own. The waitress, her eyes glistening, quietly placed a fresh cup of hot coffee and a glass of water on Leo's table. After a long minute, Eleanor's sobs subsided into hiccuping breaths. She pulled back, utterly mortified, her face blotchy and tear-stained. I'm so sorry. Your shirt." Leo shook his head, a genuine, warm smile finally reaching his eyes. "It'll dry, please," he said, gesturing to his booth. "Sit down. Have some coffee. Warm up." He helped her into the booth opposite where Chloe now watched, curious and unafraid. Leo slid in next to his daughter. "Chloe, this is my new friend. She was having a tough day, so we're sharing our breakfast." Eleanor sat, stunned, as the waitress, her name tag read, Marge, slid the steaming coffee toward her with a kind wink. "On the house, honey." Leo pushed the plate of buttered toast and a small stack of pancakes toward the center of the table. "Please," he insisted. "We ordered too much." It was a gentle lie, and Eleanor knew it. The simple act of sitting at a table, being treated as a guest and not a nuisance, was as nourishing as the food. Her hands shook as she wrapped them around the warm mug. Chloe, her initial shyness gone, pushed a crayon and a kid's menu. Across the table, "You draw?" she asked. And so, Eleanor drew. A wobbly sun, a flower. Chloe beamed and added a towering, lopsided house beside it. Conversation started in fits and starts. Leo didn't probe, but he offered pieces of himself. "It's just me and Chloe," he said. Her mom would have loved her artistic phase. He said it with a soft sadness, not bitterness. In return, Eleanor offered a sliver of her story. "I used to be a librarian," she whispered. "I lost my job, then my apartment, my son, he's out west. Things got complicated. It wasn't the whole tragedy, but it was a truth, offered and accepted without judgment." Leo listened, not as a problem solver, but as a witness. He asked about her favorite books. When she mentioned To Kill a Mockingbird, his face lit up. "My favorite, Atticus Finch," he said. "I try to channel him daily. Mostly I fall short." They shared a quiet laugh, a miraculous sound in the midst of her despair. But Leo's kindness wasn't performative, it was operational. As Eleanor finished her coffee, feeling more human than she had in years, he spoke carefully. "My sister runs a shelter a few blocks from here. It's not just a cot, it's a program. They help with resumes, housing applications, counseling. They have resources." He wrote the name and address on a napkin. "I volunteer there on Saturdays. If I gave you a ride there right now, would you let me introduce you?" This was the true test. Charity was one thing, investment was another. He wasn't just offering a one-time meal, he was offering a pathway, and his own time to walk the first steps with her. Eleanor looked from his earnest face to Chloe, who was now contentedly coloring Eleanor's fingernails with a purple crayon. This wasn't pity. This was kinship. This man, with his own full life and burdens, had seen her not as a poor woman, but as a person worthy of dignity, conversation, and a second chance. The tears came again, but this time they were quiet, cleansing. "Yes," she breathed. "I would like that very much." Leo paid the bill, ignoring Eleanor's weak protest, and helped her pack her cart into his SUV's trunk, treating her possessions with a care that spoke volumes. He buckled Chloe into her car seat, then opened the passenger door for Eleanor. As they drove away from the golden glow of the diner, the rain finally stopped, and a weak, beautiful sun broke through the clouds. The hug had been the catalyst, a desperate plea answered with breathtaking humanity. But the real miracle was what followed: the sharing of a table, the listening, the offer of tangible hope. Leo's reaction left Eleanor, and everyone who saw it, in tears because it was a masterclass in seeing the soul beneath the struggle. He didn't just give her a moment of comfort, he gave her back a piece of her future. And that, my friends, is how a single moment of courage and a single act of profound empathy can alter the course of a life. Leo didn't just see a homeless woman, he saw a fellow human drowning in loneliness, and he didn't throw a lifeline, he jumped in and swam beside her. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in spreading this kind of transformative kindness, please show your support, smash that like button, share this video to inspire others, and subscribe to True Kindness Tales. We find these incredible stories from around the world, and your subscription helps us share more light in a world that needs it. Tell us in the comments, what would you have done? Until next time, remember to look up, see the people around you, and choose kindness.